the home for this series is Proverbs 22 and verse number 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll not depart from it. And again, this is the way we've heard this preached. Well, I've heard this preached forever. Make a kid go to church Sunday school all their life. When they leave home to go to college or get married, they're going to leave church. We all know that. But when they're old, they're going to remember. I remember my mom and dad used to make me go to Sunday school. And then they're going to come back and live the last few minutes of their life in church. That is not what that teaches. The word old there means to shave the face. We're talking about puberty. All right? And so Solomon said, if you will train, and that word means to aim like a gun, if you will aim a child, because aren't children supremely moldable? You can tell a kid anything, and he'll believe it. You can tell him if you put your tooth under the pillow, I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but you know what I'm talking about. They'll believe anything. And so if we will properly aim them according to their way, and the word way means bent. We're all bent differently, all right? We all have a different personality. And so if you have 2 children, you've got 2 different people in your house. You cannot discipline them the same way. You can't train them the same way. You can't encourage them the same way. You can't, because they're 2 completely different people because of what God has done to design the unique psyche of all of us. Nobody is the same. All right? And because you're different doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're different. And so last week we talked about the sanguine. And of course Hippocrates was the one that developed this idea of the 4 basic temperaments. And he lived during the ministry of Malachi. So this is a long time ago, about 450 BC. And he noticed that he was the father of modern medicine, and he noticed that there were 4 basic kinds of people. And he thought mistakenly, but not quite mistakenly, that your temperament and your attitude was based on the amount of different colored fluids you had in your body. If you had too much blood, that would cause a fever. And so if you got a fever, they would bleed you. And we did that up until the 1800s. We would bleed people, try to get rid of a fever. Well, that's not what the truth is. We don't do that. And they call these liquids humors. Well, we've thrown that idea out the door. We don't call them humors anymore, but we do call them hormones or neurosecretions. And so, and again, I asked you last week, gals, do hormones have anything to do with your attitude? Guys? Yes. That's the question that we all, absolutely. And so we all have this different blend of temperaments. Now, here's what we have discovered. There are 4 basic temperaments, and there's the sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. And we're going to look at the choleric tonight. The sanguine was kind of like Robin Williams, just wild and crazy and funny. Enter a room mouth first. You can hear a sanguine coming in the front doors, if you're sitting up on the platform. They laugh, they joke, they kid, they tell funny stories. Everybody loves to be around them, but they don't remember spit. They lose stuff. They're unorganized. They shoot from the hip. That's their weakness. And we all have strengths and weaknesses. I don't care what temperament type you are. You have a dominant, you have a secondary, and you have sprinklings of all of them, as a matter of fact. And so your weaknesses are your strengths carried to extreme. So, y'all, we looked at the sanguine last week. What are the strengths? Give me at least 2 strengths of a sanguine. Encouraging. I'm waiting. Well, we're funny. Yes, thank you, Brandy. Always joking. Can you carry jokes too far? Can you joke at the wrong time? Yeah. We put the fun in funeral kind of a thing. You can carry anything too far. Now, tonight we're going to look at the choleric. You guys are born leaders. You come into the world, you control your household from your crib, and you know exactly how to do that. You get what you want when you want it, and they're dynamic, they're active, they can make quick decisions. A sanguine struggles over decisions because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They don't want to upset anybody, and so But the choleric, to be honest with you, they don't care if they hurt your feelings. What they're concerned about is making the right decision. All right? And they want you to be as right as you can be as well. And so they are very dynamic, very active. They've got to correct everybody's wrongs. And they're usually good at this. I have a melancholic choleric wife, and she will make snap decisions. And you know what the odd thing is? She's usually right. And I've almost learned not to question her judgment. There are still times I think, okay. And just very, very active. They're strong-willed. What's another word for that? Stubborn? Yeah, they're stubborn. Once they know the right way to go, you're not going to change their mind, all right? And they're very decisive. They can make, again, these quick decisions. They're unemotional. They're strong-willed. And normally, you don't see a lot of this with a choleric. Now, you see this with a sanguine, all right? Happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, and there's lunch. And then next week, we'll look at the melancholy. It's happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. And then there's Christmas. These people get depressed for long periods of time, possibly even a lifetime. If something happens, someone dies in their family, some great tragedy, hits their family, they might not ever get over it. It just depends on their surroundings. And they are not easily discouraged. Obstacles don't seem to, it's going to cost this. We're going to have to do this. Okay. A sanguine will look at the obstacle and say, oh my goodness, but maybe we need to try this over here. But cholerics aren't that way. They see the end result, and they will plow through just about anything to get what they know is the right result. And they're very independent. They're self-sufficient. They honestly, some people need people, and a choleric can organize a group of people into a workforce. I mean, they can just weld and amalgamate a group of people, and they know the strengths and the weaknesses of each of these people, and they can get them moving in the same direction. And so if you want something done, if something needs to be done like right now, this is a good person to get. They'll get it done. They'll start immediately, and they're not like the melancholy. It takes them a long time to make decisions because their motto in life is if you're going to do it right, and it takes a long time to get all the right information. You got to go to all the websites, you got to confirm, and you got to research. Well, by that time, your choleric's already made 40 decisions. Boom, 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 boom. Took care of the problem while, sanguines are afraid to make a decision. The melancholies are afraid to make a wrong decision, so they get so much information. And they can run anything. You remember when Reagan got shot? You remember who was the Secretary of State? Alexander Haig. Alexander Haig was an ex-military guy. Okay, Reagan gets shot. He's unconscious. He's in the hospital. They're operating on President Reagan. Now, according to something as insignificant as the Constitution of the United States, if the president is unconscious, who's in charge? All right. If there's a common accident and both of them are unconscious, say, who is in charge? Speaker of the House. All right. Then number 4, if those 3 are unconscious, who's in charge of the country? Secretary of State. Guess what Alexander Haig was? Secretary of State. All right, so this ex-military guy gets up, he holds a press conference, and these were his words. I'll never forget it. I'm in charge here. I mean, they'll take over anything, even if it's the country. They don't care. I mean, he just said, I'm in charge here. I'm like, Alex, no, you're really not. Constitutionally, you're not. All right. Let's look at the choleric as a parent. They exercise, and if you kids have a choleric parent, you might not know the name of their choleric, but this might give you a little bit of an idea. They exercise strong, loud leadership. That means they often raise their voice to make their point. And even if they leave you a note, they holler with their writing. I said, underline, exclamation. One exclamation point is never enough. It seems as though 4, 5, or 6 seem to just make the point a little stronger. And so they even holler when they write their notes. And so they exercise this strong, loud leadership. They establish goals, and they see to it that you stay on course. Can I see your homework? Did you get your homework? Bring your folder in here. Let me see your homework. They'll check all the problems and make sure. Now, do you have any more to do? How about history? Let me see your history stuff. Now, you're sanguine? Y'all got homework? Really? Oh, y'all just make sure you got it. Kind of let's go outside and play ball. But the choleric is going to make sure that the kids stay on course. And so we need them. All right? They motivate the family to action. They know the right answer. And honestly, I am so grateful for the cholerics in my life that know what they're doing. I think I really am grateful for a choleric doctor. Here's a problem, and this is what we're going to do about it. I like to hear that instead of, I don't know, we'll take something out. Whoa. These guys know what the problem is. Question, what temperament type was Jesus? He was a perfect blend of all of them, absolutely. And one of the really fascinating studies to me going through the Gospels is to find those areas in the ministry of Jesus when he was a sanguine, when he was a choleric, when he was a melancholy, and when he was a phlegmatic. There were times when he took immediate action, and then there were times when he said, not now. And so it's kind of a fascinating look. They can organize a household, put a cleric in charge of something, and I guarantee you it's going to be organized. It's going to be well. Uh-oh. Stacy, you have something to say, baby? Well, what about that? You kind of got me curious. Where would you go? Oh, she's organizing something else. Okay. There you go. So, that's... Now, what about at work? Let's just stop for a minute. How many dominant choleric? You had at least 5 choleric traits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, my word. 7, 8. Wow. All right. Well, first of all, let me apologize to y'all then. They're like 8 or 9. 1, 2. Oh, there are some in the sound booth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow. God bless you. No, that's a legitimate question that we will cover. They are very goal-oriented. Most of the time, a choleric, when they're sitting, in those rare moments when they're sitting, they're not just doing nothing. They're planning their next project. And if you're married to them, you're involved in that project. You just don't know it yet. But they're just continuously planning something. And is that bad? No. That's how we've gotten, all the technology that we have. If Columbus had given up, the world would still be flat. And so, I'm glad that there are those that are driven to invent and design and create, and they have just been a tremendous blessing to culture. They see the whole picture. They organize really, really well. Sanguines don't organize really, really well. I thought we had a Blessed Hope Foundation meeting the other night because on my phone, we were actually at dinner with Sissy Hopper, and my phone goes off. And I open the thing, and it says, Blessed Hope Foundation meeting, 6 o'clock. And I was like, oh, man, I missed it. I don't know what was on my phone because it's in March. I don't know. Oh, well, maybe that's it. It might have been in there. Yeah. Yeah, I saw I was like, oh no. He's probably said, where are you? And I didn't want to hear it, so I just hung up. but the building was unlocked, right? That's what that was about. So, yeah, that was kind of fun. Anyway, they organize. They seek practical solutions to things. They move quickly to action. Now, if you're a phlegmatic, tomorrow is the busiest day of your life. There's no need to do it now. We've got a nap to take. We've got a TV show to watch or whatever. But this guy is like, or gal, let's get it done like right now. They delegate work. I need to get that guy over there, but I'm not sure how to do that. I need a choleric to come up here and show me how to do that. They stimulate activity in people, and they thrive on opposition. Yes, careful. They don't listen. They can. Yeah. I hate opposition. If I know I've got a very difficult meeting or appointment, I'm like, oh my word, it just grinds on me. A choleric is like, they're the kind of people, if it's not broke, they'll fix it till it is. You know what I'm saying? Just so they can have something to fix. And they're good at it. So they thrive on opposition. So how many of you in here now, you don't mind a strong face-to-face confrontation? You don't mind it? Wow. It doesn't bother you? Oh, wow. Okay. I got really good at that. I can see how that could happen. Yes. As a what? Supervisor? Yeah. Well, first of all, you should go into their office one day and say something like this. I'm not here necessarily to make money. I'm here to make you the best district supervisor that this company's ever had. What can I do to help you be the absolute best you can be? I appreciate your work ethic. And so find their strength, and you build their strength. Most people will find their weakness and pick on it. But find their strength, and we'll talk about the strengths and weaknesses, and build their strength. And when you do that, they'll break their neck for you. Now, that's not manipulation. That's just if I wanted to brag on, Lorraine, she's choleric. If I were to say something, Lorraine, you are the funniest, goofiest, most forgetful person that I have ever known in my life. Exactly. Yeah, you don't do that to her because that's not her strength. So now, if you want to build somebody who is choleric, here's what we need to do. All right, now this is their weaknesses. So this is what happens. You determine who you deal with. All right, everybody has the flesh. I'm talking about Christians. Now, everybody has the flesh side, and everybody has walking in the Spirit. When you walk in the Spirit, you're walking in your Spirit-directed strengths. When you walk in your flesh, this is what we are in the flesh. All right. So, they can be bossy, dictatorial, loud, unsympathetic. I can remember when I would fall down and bust my knee or stub a toe, and I would go in, and Mom, who was pretty choleric, I would go limping in like this, and she said, "What'd you do?" I stubbed my toe. Did I tell you to put shoes on? Yeah, well, get in there, we'll clean it, But my dad was a little different. He was like, "Oh, well, I'm really sorry about that." And so they can be a little unsympathetic, impatient, inflexible. They can be rude. They can be a bully. They can control. They can feel superior, intimidate. They're outspoken. They're stubborn, intolerant, and tactless. Now, all of these are their strengths carried to extreme. How in the world? What is this? Can you look at that and say that's sin? For the most part? All right. So what do you need to do? So what we talked about this morning, this is that very same thing. At that time in Israel, there was no king, and everybody that was right in their own eyes. And so when you do that, when you become your own standard of moral judgment, that you're going to create problems. I do that in my life. I create my own standard of morality, my own thought process, and that's going to create problems in my life. And so basically, those are their weaknesses, and they are the bullhorns of life. All right? Now, let's look at their strengths. So if you want to build them and encourage them, and if this is the person you want to deal with, now if you want to deal with a choleric and their weaknesses, have at it. Okay? Have at it. You probably don't want to do that. All right? So, they're positive. They're confident. They're decisive. They're movers. They're bold. They're a leader, resourceful, productive, dynamic. They can run it all. Now, if you have a choleric boss or a choleric spouse or parent, choose. What would you, how would you build them? How would you encourage them? Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your, you can run anything. Thank you. Now, if you've got children, you have children. There are sanguine parents that have choleric kids. The kids are better leaders than the parents are. So what do? Well, we're going to kind of squash that down. Don't do that. Don't ever break a child's spirit. You'll have an emotional cripple on your hands, quite possibly for the rest of his life. So what you need to do, you may have a sanguine child and a choleric child. You can't encourage them the same way. All right? They have completely different strengths, and so find their strengths. And Israel knew about this because they would not name a child until he was weaned. You're talking about anywhere from 4 to 6 years old. And they would name them. Their names were self-contained sentences. They didn't get a baby name book. Oh, Kevin, that's a cute name. They didn't do that. They would name them after temperament traits and how they, were they sneaky, were they bold, were they quiet, were they loud. And if you will look up the Hebrew or Greek names of the kids that were named, it will define that person. Pretty amazing. Yes, ma'am. Like she was, okay. Faith? She had a what? Where is she, by the way? Good illustration. And everybody's, if you have a choleric in your home, you have a story like that. Of some level of organizational skills that quite possibly the parent doesn't have. But here's what cholerics do. They straighten the mess up that the rest of us make. And they know how to do it. They can do it really, really well. All right? Now, validate their passion. We are so selfish. We don't like to do this. Even husbands and wives. Let's say you're at a party, and the husband is sanguine, and he tells a joke, and everybody at the table just falls down laughing. And the wife goes, "Oh, good grief. Don't encourage him." Why not? What, you want him to be like you? I'm telling you, we try to punish people for being who they are. You cholerics that make quick decisions. Look, why don't you, can somebody else make a decision, please? Can you please, And I realize that when they get in their weaknesses, they can try to just take over everything, and I understand that. But if you want to validate them as people, then find the thing they do well. And it's up to us to stay in the center of God's will, because when you step out of the will of God, you're in your weaknesses. And it's very obvious. Everybody is miserable when anybody gets out of God's will. And so we want to validate their passion. And so here's what we do. People will move to the weakness side of their temperament when their passion for life is not validated. Let's say here's somebody, well, they're a cowboy. And you got another guy that is works in a doctor's office. If the doctor makes fun of the cowboy, and he's not kidding, he just kind of looks down on him. What's that going to do to that relationship? Kind of put it in the bind, right? All right? Well, and what I'm telling you is this. You don't have to like what I do. It is not required that you like the same things I like. I like to hunt and fish. And there might be people who say, oh, good grief, I like to knit. Okay. I like to play golf. Okay. Is there anything wrong with either one of those? No, absolutely not. And so you find their passion for life and you validate that. And so people tend to withhold what other people need to punish them for being who they are. Don't do that. If you call your husband or you are just so flippin' bossy. Well, what's that going to draw out of them? Bossiness. Exactly right. And so if you criticize their strength, they're going to flip to the weakness side of their temperament, and that's who you're going to deal with. So it's up to you. I don't want to deal with the weakness side of a choleric. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the weakness side of anybody. And so what do? Well, once you have been through this series, let's say at least good one time, you can be in somebody's presence for 5-10 minutes, and you can determine what temperament type they are. Once you know what type they are, you know what their strengths are. You don't have to know anything about them. I've met people, and in just a few minutes, we get to talking about this particular subject, and I'll say, can I ask you a question? Would your motto in life be da-da-da-da-da? How'd you know that? Do you have a problem with bop, 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 bop? How did you know that? Well, I didn't. I just know these types, and I know that these things do not change. And so once you know what the types are, you will know what the strengths and the weaknesses are. It really will enhance your relational skills because you will know what to build about people. And so cholerics need to be appreciated for what they do and what they accomplish.
Bid on that. You need to bid on that. I didn't intend to buy but one bull.
Bull.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you went for is what I meant. That's, okay. Well, it fulfills them when you build their strength, when you compliment their strength, when you praise their strength, because it makes them be the absolute best that they can be, and that's what you want. All right? What? Yeah. Now, you cholerics, you have an incredibly sharp intellect. You're sharp. You're intelligent. And you probably know that. Now, if you take that to the weakness side, you probably think you're the smartest person in the room. I am, actually, very intelligent. And you plebeians down here, so you got to be careful with what God has given you, or you will run it in the wrong direction. But you're very enthusiastic about success, right? Just making something work, making something successful, making it go over wonderfully well, just having it be the top of the line. You love doing that. And it's great to have people that have that mentality. They're like Superman and Wonder Woman. They are successful basically in any profession or endeavor that they get involved with, because they're not going to let anything stop them. They're not going to let anything get in their way. They will find a way over, through, or around any obstacle, and you've got to love that. You've got to appreciate that. And so they can work through anything to get done what the project's calling for. And again, they're great leaders. The best leaders are cholerics. Now, often what happens to, especially a lost choleric, say here's a non-Christian choleric. You see a problem, a potential problem here? You know, they've got the strengths and the weaknesses of a choleric, but it's not being directed by the Spirit of God. So, wow, can you see where that might just really splatter brains all over the place? You know, that very easily could happen. And so they make quick decisions, and they're usually right, I've got to admit. You guys, I don't know where you get your information. I don't know, where do you get your information, by the way? Because you know. Why? Good answer. All right, that's a good answer. Because sanguines, we don't listen real well. You didn't have to agree with that, Brandy. Okay. And honestly, the older you get, you don't remember. And that's not an excuse. Well, yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, it is. But you know, we don't. I think there's an assumption that we know what to do, and cholerics don't think that way. You know, it's like boom, boom, boom. I'll give you a perfect example. Stacy read me something. I'm on United Healthcare and this Social Security stuff. You get $40 a month, right, of this products, whatever. Now it's $80. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, well. Anyway, she was reading. I was watching something on TV. I wasn't necessarily listening. And she said, and I remember her saying, you know, the amount is double now to 80. And I honestly, I didn't know what she was talking about. And I feel bad weren't you listening? Well, probably not. Anyway, today she mentioned, you know, we've got to get that call in because you get this once a month. And that has doubled to $80. And I was like, really? It's now $80? She said, yeah. We talked about this yesterday. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. So, anyway, they're usually right. And they are precise in their instructions. If they leave you a note of how to do something, it is like multi-intersections. You go here and you turn left, and then you go up here. I'm not real good at multitasking. Tell me, all right, turn left now. Now turn right. Don't tell me turn left, turn right, and then when you get down to the road, turn, you know, I don't follow that real well. And so these people are very, very precise in instructions to anybody that's listening. And they are very bold or productive. They're outspoken, and they are competitive about everything. They want to beat everybody in everything. It doesn't matter what it is. They want to come out ahead because they're a born leader, and they want to be successful in things. All right? Now, commonly, they can be very prideful. And they will let you know, you don't question me. I know what I'm doing. Just shut up, check your brains at the door. If you have an opinion, I'll tell you what it is, kind of a thing. And what... Well, apologize on behalf of the church. This is a church thing here. But we can be very prideful. All the temperaments have something to be prideful about. There's no question about it. But these people can be very prideful about their knowledge and their intellect and their ability to get things done. And they can think very highly of their own opinion. Now, question. What about when two cholerics get together? Could you imagine a choleric? Is that what we've got here? Okay. Could you imagine, all right, can both of you be right about everything all the time? No. So who's right? Okay. Good. Is it difficult for you to say, even though you think you're right, let's do it your way? Is that kind of hard? That's not natural. It is not, because we all want our way, about... And you know what? One of the greatest things is when a choleric brags about a sanguine. Now this is just an illustration from the universe somewhere. But a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just going to tell you because it's an illustration that fits exactly what we're doing. If y'all remember, Stacy said something about me, and she appreciated my temperament. I have lived on that for 2 weeks. I really have. Because honestly, cholerics don't brag on people very often. And that was just like, yes, saying sick them to a dog. And so they think highly of their own opinion. All right? They also that believe weaknesses are worthy of praise. You're brutal. Yeah, that's right. And they don't think they have any weaknesses, which is one of the weaknesses. They don't know it. All right? Which is one of the wrong things even Tom Braddock did. I mean, we all have them. Right? Nobody is outside the purview of what we're talking about tonight. And they can be stubborn, especially when they think they're right. They're not going to move. They're not going to budge. No, we're going to do this. But we're not going to do that. And so they can be a little stubborn. They can express strong opinions about everything. They believe that they're right about everything. Now, they're right quite a bit of the time, but nobody is always right about everything, okay? And thank the Lord for those that recognize that. So they can now. This is the weakness side. They can treat others like they're ignorant and incompetent and make you feel like an idiot. What? Yeah, really? You did? Oh, my word. There's a different way to handle that, by the way, than to try to make people feel incompetent and stupid. And so that's when, again, you're dealing with people through your weaknesses, and it very well could be that they have encouraged you to slide to that side, all right? Because, I know I can deal with her weaknesses, and quite often, probably more than not, when I'm dealing with her weaknesses, it was what I did. I pushed her to that side. And so, all right. That get many points, babe, right there. Again, they don't care. If people get offended or hurt, that's really not the issue. The issue is, did you get the job done? Did we get the project finished? Yeah, but we got bloody bodies all over. Well, that's okay. Can y'all get him out of the way? And because they're project oriented in practically everything they do. All right, now, yes, sir. Right. And be pretty sure he was. He would. Yeah, I would see him coming in here for Sunday school. He would be sitting there with reading his Bible. Give a real quick overview. The cholerics are enthusiastic about success. They're enthusiastic about the project that's going to go well and how well. And they want you to succeed. They really do. And so they might push you to an uncomfortable state because they want you to succeed as much as they want to succeed themselves. Then they have high aspirations and cravings for success, and they must have the best of everything. They'll buy the most expensive. They'll buy, and they want you to know if they're on their weakness side, they like for you to know what they have been able to afford or accomplish or do or be, and they're extremely ambitious. They have a keen intellect, and one of the things that I really respect and appreciate about cholerics, you better have your ducks in a row if you get in an argument with them. You better know what you're talking about, or you're going to get the sails blown off your ship, because these people are very, very organized in their information, and I love to hear cholerics preach. I love to hear cholerics teach. I love to read choleric books because there's no wiggle room. It's either right or it's wrong. And if you are a choleric, there will be times in your life when you might be in a situation where your sanguine will surface. You might even tell a joke, and it might be funny. And you can always tell when a choleric is about to tell a joke because it's almost like they're going to do a performance. And they'll tell you, here's a little key. The shorter the joke, the funnier it is. But I've heard people, they'll tell you this joke, and they're walking around the block, and they're telling you every little detail. And then he turned left, and then on this road, you turn right on this little road, and he went down there. That by the time you get there, you're worn out. All right, so you want to tell a funny joke, keep them short. But they just have this brilliant intellect. I'm grateful for that. They have strong will, have an impulse to domineer others to get the job done. And again, we need to be thankful for people who have this driving ambition to accomplish things in life, and they are extremely, extremely productive in basically everything they do. So, if you're a choleric, God bless you. Thank you for letting the Lord use you. Yes, ma'am? Oh. I thought she was a ventriloquist there for a minute. Her lips weren't moving, but I heard this voice. Mm-hmm. It has been. It has been. Now, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Rose, yes. And the harder you push a phlegmatic, the deeper they dig their heels, because that's part of the game, is just to see how rebellious, but it's a quiet rebellion, but they will use their stubbornness as a tool for rebellion against you, and you don't even know it. They're pretty sharp. Yeah. I said, now which of your children are choleric? Which one? If you... Oh, goodness. If you will turn to the page, and just show you this quickly, the strengths of a choleric. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good question. If it's a spousal situation, you need a code word. A code word. And it could be Gunsmoke. Wow. All right. That's that. And if you have this agreement, now when you hear me say Gunsmoke, you're shooting off at the mouth too much, and you just need to back it off. And so just, and you do it with a smile on your face. Oh, Gunsmoke. Man, I love that show. And if he's got any sense, or if she's got any sense, he'll get the idea. But there are times when you just need to say, no, you're wrong. But the code word, try the code word first. All right? Well, again, there may be times when I wouldn't do it publicly. Can I talk with you? Can take them off somewhere into an office and say, I just want to let you know, and just lay out your case about what they're doing that is deteriorating the situation or deteriorating the relationship. They need to be told the truth just like anybody else does. And that's tough. Like it is. It's tough for a person that doesn't have that fangs down, aggressive personality to do that. But there are times when that needs to happen. I guess that could be true. Right. Well, your facial expression, especially if you're married to somebody, and your facial expression can be hurt, disappointed, or whatever. And yeah, I know what you're talking about. You do. Okay. Good point. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, yeah, there are times, if you can, there are people that I try to avoid. There are preachers that I try to avoid, and sometimes you can't, but I may can find another aisle to go down, at the store or whatever, but yeah. So, right, just let them be as choleric as they want to be. Exactly right. All right, now, on this page, you will find the strengths of a choleric, and they're all on the left-hand side. The choleric is their emotions as a parent, at work, as a friend. Those are all of your strengths. On the right side are your weaknesses emotionally, as a parent, at work, as a friend. And so if you really want to get to know yourself, I would spend some time, and the same thing is true. We did the same one last week, and we've got this same page for us. Find out what your weaknesses are. Most people do not want to admit they have any. That they just, because it's an embarrassing thing, you know. Nobody wants to say, well, yeah, this is the biggest weakness that I have. But we all have them. And if you don't admit it, that's one of your weaknesses. And so, you know, just go find what your weaknesses are and spend a day. Lord, forgive me for this. And if somebody is brought to your mind, you know, bully, for instance, you know, just last week, oh, man, I need to get on the phone and ask him to forgive me. And here's, in closing, if, let's say you go to a yard sale and you buy this old dresser. You like the design, but you don't like the color. Lime green. So you take it home and you take that hideous lime green paint off, and there's this really obnoxious sky blue. You don't like that either. And so you take the blue off. And then, oh my word, chocolate brown. And so you take the brown off. Now eventually you're going to get the wood, right? What layer do you have to start with? The most recent. Okay? So if you want a pure conscience and a pure heart, you start with the most recent offense. And here's what will happen. Let's say I say something to Brandy or I do something to Brandy. Don't apologize. Apologies are basically like kissing your sister. You know? What you want to do, because it requires, if I apologize, what is she going to say? It's okay. It's not okay. But now if I do this, I need to put the ball in her court. Brandy, I said that. Would you forgive me? See, now, maybe, exactly, okay? Either yes, no, or, you know, but what you've done, you put the ball in their court. Either way, you are no longer guilty. You know what I'm saying? You have put the responsibility on the individual. And so knowing Brandy, she's going to say, well, yes, preacher, I'm going to forgive you. And so apologies are not real effective. Just ask the forgiveness of an individual, and here's what will happen. Let's say I offend Brandy, I make it right. That hideous lime green layer is gone. Oh, well, there's that blue layer. Oh, I remember Steve. I said something to Steve. Steve, would you forgive me? I said da. And so we take care of the blue layer, and then, oh man, there's chocolate brown. So you won't know there's chocolate brown until you deal with the sky blue. You won't know there's sky blue until you deal with the lime green. And what I'm telling you is this: the more layers that we allow to build up in our conscience, the less you will hear the Spirit of God deal with your heart. And so when we deal with these layers, you finally will get down to a clean conscience. And when you get there, oh my goodness, the joy in the Christian life that is associated with a clean conscience is absolutely tremendous. It really is. So let's deal with these issues as a church. And there may be some family meetings that need to take place, some work meetings. Maybe you need to go to a boss and say, you know, I've been really resistant to you because would you forgive me for that? And you know, this works. This is not a technique. This is just what we as Christians are supposed to do to live life in God's will in our culture. And I think it's just a good way to create thirst in people, because we are the salt of the earth, you know. And you can drive a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Actually, you can. You can feed him salt. You don't have to make him drink. You just have to make him thirsty. And that's what our responsibility is. Thank you for being here. Yes, sir, Paul? Dad was phlegmatic. Thank you. He wouldn't do that to me.
It does my heart good to see that Jim's got one.
He was a mean man. He was a mean man. Wow. Well, And he should have just spanked him right there on the spot, but anyway, thank you for that memory. Most of the time, that's true, yeah. Most of the He what?
He can tell a joke almost good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't either, actually. I didn't either. Thank y'all for being here. Be here Wednesday night. We're going to be in, well, let me say this. What do you want to be in Wednesday night? Is there a subject that is just really, what? Like, we'll do that Sunday night week. This is on Sunday night. Wednesday night. What are we going to do Wednesday night? Proverbs? Okay. Proverbs. All right, we can jump into some of that. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. I appreciate your presence and continue to pray for Candace, that they get to the heart of her problem and get her out of the hospital. And so let's remember her. Also, John. John had migraine this morning. Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Pray for Miss Margaret. All right. All right. Well, let's pray. You kids have a great week at school, okay? All right. I love y'all. Thank you for your music. And those of you who don't sing up there, love you just as much. But I hear so many people compliment the music. And y'all are, this is what I'm hearing. They're just getting better. Their voices are blending. It's getting more mellow. And it's true. You start on time, you stop on time, and it's sounding really, really good. So, all right, let's pray. Father, we love you. Thank you for your goodness. Thank you for making us the way you've made us. And I pray that we would discover your purpose for our lives. Now, our purpose is not our decision. It's our discovery. And may we discover the gifts and the strengths and the abilities that you've put in us, and may we live in those strengths. Stay away from our weaknesses, because those do damage to relationships. And I pray, Lord, that you would bless us as we go out now to be what you have designed us to be at work, in home, on the street, marketplace. We love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.